Alright, how's it going folks? It's Suko, thanks for stopping by, appreciate ya. And today, we got a pretty big video for ya. We're talking about MegaHobby Expo 2025, which was held yesterday in Akihabara. They do these once a year, it's not as big as one fest, it's not as big as one hobby, and frankly, I think that's a good thing. It's not as like overstimulating, you could appreciate what's being shown here, if you're into any of it of course, and hopefully you are. Now unfortunately, I'm filming this like right after all of these figures were shown off, so there's not like a great source for good quality photos and with English text, so this might be a little sloppier than usual, but I've already gone ahead and wrote down a bunch of these figures' names just so I can, start this video off. And we're gonna begin with Alice Glint, who pretty much brought nothing because this Shiki Natsume figure, a 1 3/5 scale, does have some cast-off options, but they're not shown here, is already up for pre-order. You could just buy this right now, I'm pretty sure. But we'll go to Design Coco next. This, I'm pretty sure, was their main figure they brought to the event, and it's Viper from Goddess of Victory Nikkei. Some notable things about this figure, it's a 1/4 scale, so she is massive, and they're sculpting the fishnets this time around, which is not the only time we're gonna see that in this video, though it's from other companies. And if you look really closely, you could see a saliva trail from the lollipop, which is pretty suggestive. She's holding her phone to you as well, maybe showing you her latest gacha pulls. I don't know, I don't really know anything about Nikkei, but I do think that sculpt looks pretty nice. Elena, we've seen painted in the past with that cute little cat playing with a butterfly. She's going up for pre-order apparently in a couple of days. I don't know when this video is going up. And then, yeah, a bunch of other announcements like the 2 OC figures designed by Tori Domino. Perhaps a good versus evil kind of thing going on here. I don't think they have names. I like the girl in the back a bit more. I just think her design is a little bit more appealing personally. And then we also had figures for Arcana from Goddess of Victory Nikkei, Shimanto from Azur Lane, as well as Raffaello, and then Kotone, Saki, and Tamari from the Idol Master, and then from Blue Archive was Chiaki. Which brings us to Mimeyoi, who really did not bring that much either. This is their Lemalin figure, which has been available to pre-order for months. In fact, it comes out next week, I'm pretty sure. But we also had their Kataragi figure, which just went up for pre-order. So this one, at the very least, is pretty topical and new, and I think she looks great. She does cost a little bit more at 40,000 yen, but the figure does look rather tall. And I think the costume here, while not deviating too far from a typical bunny figure, does look interesting enough to catch my eye at the very least. I really like these sleeves, almost looks like they have a bit of an iridescence to it. From this translucent plastic that they're using. She has quite a lot of accessories throughout her outfit too, the flowers in her hair, the bells around her neck. Little hard to see everything in these photos, but it does seem like this is a pretty detailed costume, and obviously this figure feels very in motion as she's starting to jump in the air. Even the sandal that she's wearing is not directly attached to her foot, which makes it feel like this is the moment she jumped in the air, you know what I mean? Next up, I want to talk about Q's Q, one of my favorite companies. Really didn't bring that much, though most of this is at the very least updates to their figures, which is good compared to the previous ones, though there's no real showstoppers here. However, Wedding Ryza looks perfect. Perfect art style, and the legs look so sexy here. Not to mention, it is kind of funny how the dress is designed in the way you would expect. They gotta show off her legs, so it just stops here. Kind of like that Chisato figure, except this was mandatory. If there's a Ryza figure, you better be showing off the legs, specifically the thighs, so mission accomplished. The layering and ruffling of the dress, all the flowers throughout the figure, which are also on the veil too, if you didn't notice. And, it's Ryza, she's just a very appealing character, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that one turns out, and I'm sure a lot of people are too. This one was brand new to the event, I'm pretty sure. Has a name that's pretty hard to pronounce, so I'm definitely gonna put this one on screen right now, but I'll give it a shot. Gauha Leshi from Heavy Metal L Gaim, which is a series from the 80s, which I think is awesome when these companies just pull from franchises that people aren't really thinking about as much anymore, especially new audiences and new figure collectors. And yeah, I know absolutely nothing about this series. I'm assuming it's a mecha. This looks like a military army type of outfit. Perhaps it's the outfits they wear when they're piloting the mechas, I don't know. But she does look like she's from that era. I love how full her hair looks. This just looks super good to me. and she just has a cool vibe, so it's like, I'm down for this. I'm not gonna pre-order it, but I'm definitely down. This next one, though, is pretty dang cute. This is Wakaba Hinata from Blue Archive. Now, she does have a rather voluptuous body as well, and the way this nun outfit is sculpted definitely accentuates her chest, and her legs, like that little peak underneath, is crazy good, in my opinion. But yeah, I think her face is really cute. I love the bangs. Obviously, there's like not that much color to this figure outside of like inside the veil and her halo and her eyes, but I think it's enough, and it obviously fits the whole nun aesthetic. So no complaints in my opinion. This looks really, really good. But let's move on. Here is Takina and Shisato in their training wear. I think that's what these are called. And yeah, I don't know. I was kind of expecting something a little bit better because these have been in the works for a while. They're very straightforward. Their faces are kind of bland, like they're just cute smiles. There's nothing too expressive about these figures. It's just if you like the bodies of these characters, I guess. Here is Fern from Frieren, like the battle version. I don't know if that's actually the classification of this figure, but if you've seen the series, you know exactly where they're pulling this idea from. It's when she's fighting, I think Lugner was the guy's name, that demon, on top of the castle roof, which was an amazing scene, holy shit. Also just makes a ton of sense to turn that moment into a figure, so conceptually, I think this is fantastic. The addition of blood on the dress is a really nice touch, and her expression couldn't be better, in my opinion. Fits the scene perfectly. She's so serious but calm at the same time, not trying to like let out her emotions or how strong she is, because that's part of like the story of Frieren. Don't let the demons get the upper hand, knowing how strong you are. But yeah, if there's one thing to criticize about this figure, I think it really needs something going on with the base. Like Lugner's blood attacks, those like thorn-like, you know, blood streaks. I think a little bit of that would make this so much more convincing, because it does feel like it's lacking a little bit. At the very least, they did make the base the bricks of the castle, which at least puts us in that setting. But if you're gonna give her battle damage, and if you're trying to make her look so serious and like, this is when she fought that guy, I just feel like you gotta add a little bit more to the base. I know it would cost more money, but it just feels like it's missing the mark a little bit. Maybe I care too much about this, but I don't know, like everything else about this figure is stellar. Her face looks so good, the shading on her hair looks sublime, but I just want a little bit more from this figure. It does kind of rival the Good Smile one for me. It's such a different figure, but I feel like that one felt more complete because of the nice like lush riverside base that she had. Either way, let's move on. I spent a little bit too long talking about Fern. Here is Marin Kitagawa from My Dress Up Darling, and she is wearing her school uniform, but also showing you her school swimsuit underneath, or I guess some kind of, you know, swimsuit, right? And this took a long time for Q's Q to finally give us a prototype. And yeah, I'm kind of whelmed. Like, it looks fine, doesn't look bad by any means, but not really what I was expecting from them. They like to make a lot of changing clothes figures. This doesn't feel like that, because it's a little bit more forward. This feels like she's just showing you personally, but I don't know, outside of like really long legs on this sculpt, I don't really see anything to get super excited about, unless you are a Marin Kitagawa, just like super fan and you want all of her figures. So yeah, after all of this time, I feel like, okay, thanks for showing me. I think other companies have done stuff that's a little bit more interesting and exciting for her. That was it though as far as Q's Q is concerned, so next up let's talk about AmiAmi. This was their only update of the event, a little army of Doro figures from Goddess of Victory Nikkei. Every company wants to do this. I feel like this is the third or fourth company I've seen do this exact same idea. And hey, I don't blame them. These little creatures have just captured the hearts of millions, or perhaps their souls. Maybe it's involuntary, I don't know. But man, they're cute. I get it. Keep making them, I don't care. I want to see more. But yeah, everything else was a recap from AmiAmi, unfortunately. Like Komodo from There Is Also a Hole in the Student Organization. which is such a name for a manga, but it is getting an anime, so you'll see this character in the future. There was also Janice, the Fright Night Scaredy Cat version from Azur Lane, I believe, which has been done for a while alongside Akko, which we could see here. I'm very surprised that these are taking so long to go up for pre-order. I mean, AmiAmi isn't known as a figure manufacturer. This is just like a gig for them. They sell anime figures. But, you know, this Akko has been done for like a year at this point. But, you know, we can't get it yet, so we'll just have to wait a little bit more. Goldenhead was at the event, not too much to show off either, but just to refresh you, we are getting a Blue Mary figure from King of Fighters 15, specifically designed by Hungry Clicker. If you're into fighting games, you definitely know who that guy is. Sometimes goes by Click Burgundy. Also is making a Shermie figure. Seems like this is going to be the pose they're going with. Last time we saw this announcement, it was just like the typical Shermie pose, which is more iconic, but like everybody's gonna do that for Shermie, so I like that they're actually doing something different here. Not to mention the 15 outfit for Shermie is just the hottest thing ever, so I'm glad they're making a figure based off this costume. Here is the City of the Wolves Mai Shiranui, which is wearing that like black jumpsuit, which is actually painted. Not the best photo of it, but here it is right now. Definitely looks a lot better with the paint applied, but still not the biggest fan of this version of Mai. I just don't really find this game's art style super appealing personally. You do have that support in the front, but you can't really avoid that. She is leaping forward rather dynamically, so you kind of need that. But you know, if you're not like super interested in this version of Mai Shiranui, there is also this figure being made by Goldenhead, once again designed by Hungry Clicker. I feel like Hungry Clicker made her look a little cuter. The posing and her expression, I feel like it's less sexy, more cute. Obviously, this revealing outfit will show off a lot of her legs and her chest and her butt, but there's just something about the posing that feels a little bit more playful and cutesy to me. Something that's kind of interesting about fighting games is there's just so many different sources to pull from, unlike anime figures where you want either the original source material or the anime adaptation. But even within fighting games, there's so many artists that have worked on Fatal Fury, on King of Fighters, and they're all gonna have their own like little twists and unique takes on the character while still trying to be faithful, and I think that's really interesting. In this case, it's a guest artist and they're doing a really good job too. But yeah, sometimes I complain about like a fighting game figure not really looking like the character. I'm hoping they would make something a little bit more faithful, but unless they're basing it off a specific artist that has worked on these characters before, it's just naturally going to look a little bit different. And then yeah, to wrap up Goldenhead, we had two Blue Archive figures, though we've already known about both of these announcements, Satsuki as well as Serika, the swimsuit version. At the very least, this one has a prototype, but we have seen this prototype probably at OneFest. So, guess whose computer just blue screened? That's a bummer, lost like an hour of footage. I'm just gonna do it again. I do have the audio, but I don't wanna edit audio only. I was trying to, and it was very tedious, so whatever. This is actually quicker. So next up, we're gonna talk about Amakuni. All they really brought was Goddess of Victory Nikkei, which is cool. We start off with 4 announcements from them: Littner, Sakura, Bloom and Summer, Exia, Hacker Rabbit, as well as Guilty, Wave of Disbelief. Now, I believe all of these are 1/7 scales, and I say that because this figure of Red Hood, Red Flavor, is actually a 1/4 scale. Amakuni making 1/4 scales. This might be one of their first, if not their first, and that's a horrifying thought. That's going to cost so much money from them, because like a 1/7 these days is like 27,000 yen. This seems like a very popular skin. I know she's a popular character too, but I guess there's just a beauty to the simplicity of this skin in the game, because it is pretty simple, but she does look quite nice. Next up was 2 prototypes. We have Ludmilla, Winter Owner, as well as Viper, Shine of Love. Now, this one is actually a swimsuit figure if the base isn't a giveaway, though I do get some mixed signals from the design of the bikini. It just kind of looks more like bra and panties to me, and I think that's because of like this lacy looking pattern throughout it, but you know, not a big deal. The button down shirt does also make me think this is like a bedroom outfit, but you know, whatever, not a big deal. Her stomach is really nicely sculpted, especially the belly button that is so defined on this sculpt. And then where do we begin with Ludmilla? This is a very fancy, lavish-looking character. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a kimono, just taken to the next level with some like extra ruffling layers and this like fluffy boa or whatever it's supposed to be around her arms. She's holding a whole ass lantern. That's probably going to look very good on the final product. And I don't really know where they want me to focus on when it comes to her charm points, but I gotta say, her thighs are huge. I think garter belts and kimonos are kind of underrated together. We need to see more of that. But yeah, next up we had Folkwang, the Moist Rabbit. Cool name. What do you guys think about glossy leggings? Because I like their appearance, but I don't really understand what material they're supposed to look like at this point. I guess I don't know every type of legging or stocking, but it just kind of like confuses me, despite how I do think this is a good look for her. On top of her blue suit, which is painted so well, the range of blues here look excellent. And not to steal the show, but realistic ice cubes, holy moly. Amakuni's done it. And then we had Ruka from Rent-A-Girlfriend getting a competitive swimsuit version. I don't remember her being this busty, but I guess she is. I haven't seen the show in a while. But yeah, it's pretty cute. It has like this Genki energy to it. A little bit different than the Chizuru figure that was so popular to the point where they made 2 additional colors for it. I think the blue swimsuit looks amazing on her. It's her colors, but it just feels like a perfect fit. And then this was actually not an update, unfortunately, but they did show off once again the Tokisaki Kurumi competitive swimsuit version. We're going to be seeing this a lot from Amakuni until it just doesn't make them any more money, and I think Kurumi was a great choice. Alright, we're jumping over to Kotobukiya next. I had a ton at this event, including a My Valentine figure in the Oshi Works series, which is a budget line if you are not familiar. I don't think any of these are out. I still don't know how big these figures are supposed to be, but I can tell you, paint looks pretty basic. It does look pretty flat, much like a pop-up parade or something. On the other hand, we are getting the Buster Blader as an Oshi Works figure, which is awesome. The fact that they're even making this in the first place. Though I do think they have to change up his posing a little bit. I feel like he looks kind of stiff because the legs aren't like wide enough. The base isn't big enough, so they had to bring the legs closer, and it just makes this guy look a little bit less intimidating and cool. They are making Wolfwood in this line. This one actually looks pretty solid, very relaxed posing, plus his Wolfwood, one of the best parts about Trigun. And then they are, of course, making Vash as well. This doesn't win me over immediately because they went with a pretty static feeling pose. You know, he's got his gun, he's like ready to shoot, I suppose. But that's in combination with like the lack of expression. It's so serious, but he's really just standing there. I don't know, it just feels like it's not really coming to life as much as the Nicholas Wolfwood one did. Next up, we had Knives from Trigun Stampede. Also, I should have mentioned all of those designs were from Trigun Stampede and not the original. This is a scale figure, so this one's going to be pretty expensive, but we only have the silhouette. We also had the Seto Kaiba and Joey Wheeler Passionate Duelist versions. Now, these are technically version 2s, alongside Yami Yugi and Yugi Moto, which did just go up for pre-order, and I've been very happy with this line so far. I think both of these boys also look excellent, much better than their version 1 figures, which came out around 10 years ago or something. I plan to get the Yami figure. I'm most likely going to be getting this Kaiba and swapping it out with the one I own. I just think he looks cooler here. I like the posing a little bit more. And as far as Joey, I'm not committed to like going so hard on the Yu-Gi-Oh line, but I think this one is interesting because unlike the other characters, Joey is wearing a different outfit. The other figure had him in a school uniform, that like glossy blue you might recall, but this is the t-shirt and jeans, which I believe he was wearing during the Battle City arc, which I like this look too, but it's just 2 different designs now compared to the other figures, which just feel more like upgrades flat out. But next up, this one's a little surprising, a little unexpected. Kanan Takakiyo from Mistress Kanan is Devilishly Easy, a very stacked devil girl in a maid outfit, a pretty skimpy one. I've definitely seen this character before. In fact, I think she has some figures already, maybe a cowgirl figure from Fat Company. We also got Fitz from Mushoku Tensei Season 2, only seen Season 1. Is this supposed to be Sylphie? She looks cool. I don't know if this is supposed to be a disguise, but it kind of looks like the same character, except she's wearing some sunglasses, which kind of reminds me of Gendo from the Rebuild movies. I don't know why, that's just where my brain went. And then we get to Ichiban Kasuga from Like a Dragon or the Yakuza series. Now, you know me, fucking love this franchise. I also love that they gave him Nancy. That's awesome. Did not need to do that. I think his posing is very good too. I know we're zoomed in here, but he's got his bat extended like a sword because he thinks he's a JRPG character. But I'm gonna just say it, I don't really think this looks as spot on as I was hoping it would be. I think Kiryu and Majima are like perfect, but this doesn't immediately make me think of Ichiban for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know if they like slid the realism slider a little bit too far, but there's just something about the eyes, and I think his mustache is a little bit too pronounced. Like, he does have one, but it's kind of hard to see in the game unless you're very up close. I think it's just like a little bit too dark, and it just throws off his face a little bit. And I also think his hair is like supposed to be a little bit more brown, but it looks black in this photo. So yeah, I'm still very curious on this figure, but it's not like 100% winning me over yet. But next up, gonna skip that photo, we have the BB Hood Darkstalkers Bashoujo figure. You know, I'm also very interested in this one, and I think it's perfect. The colors look great, she looks very cute, the little flowers are just like adorable in the basket alongside the gun, right? It's just that goofy setup for BB Hood that you would want included, like everything's here. And yeah, like we saw earlier, she does have a very angry, just like cartoony, stylish faceplate. Not like the exact stylization of this look I was like kind of hoping for, but I do still quite like it. And when I buy this figure, because I'm gonna go buy it, I do think I will display her like this. It's just very charming that they included this side of her. Here is a figure of Yumiya from Atelier Yumiya, the sun shower version, so a drenched in water version, I suppose. The clothing and maybe her hair, hard to say right now, but it does kind of look like her hair is supposed to be wet. And for the more cultured individuals out there, a very armpit-focused figure, front and center on the figure, definitely seems like a highlight of this sculpt for sure. Not bad, Kotobukiya, not bad. Here's the painted prototype for Melisandre from Unicorn Overlord. Paint looks excellent, especially on this red portion of her outfit, and the boots. I think the paint overall has some nice shading to it. And then we get to Hindenburg from Azure Lane. Really curious if they're going to copy this art one-to-one. I really can't imagine them including these like dragon, wyvern, mechanical beasts, whatever they're supposed to be. But at the very least, Hindenburg does look good in this artwork, especially her hair. I love how voluminous it looks, and that shade of red, ooh, it's one of my favorites. Next up was the Soda Twinkling Bunny version, which, if you might recall, is a 1/4 scale. And this is giving us confirmation that Kotobukiya is trying to be as faithful as possible to the original source material, to the artwork that these figures are based on. Which is great to see because, you know, we've been living in a freeing world for a while, making 1/4 scales. Never really doing anything with the bases outside of some effect pieces every now and then. But here comes Koto, just really getting into 1/4 scales only recently, and we're getting the whole ass poker table or whatever this table is supposed to be. She's kind of blocking most of it. I can't tell what's actually on the table right now, but that's fine. She's front and center, she's the most important part, but it's nice you get the setting that she was in, the casino, I'm assuming. Anyway, next up is Girls Frontline 2 Sabrina, hanging out at the beach bar, enjoying a couple of snacks. The game definitely makes that pretty apparent that she loves to eat. There's like that one cheeky scene where she offers you something and then takes it away, eats it in front of you, so, you know, she just can't help herself, I suppose. But I gotta say, Kotobukiya did a phenomenal job, one with the base, even just like the food surrounding her looks pretty good, and her body sculpt, like, whoo boy, they did a really good job with that as well. But I do think also just like her bikini's design is also just like accentuating her curvature. So yeah, I mean, I think they did a great job with this one. It's like one of their better body sculpts I've seen in a while. And then we had a figure of Nakari Ayame, her version 2, where she's wearing a Shrine Maiden outfit, one with a lot of pink. Like, the gradation here is pretty, like, noticeable, more so than a lot of other Kotobukiya figures, but I do think the palette overall is very appealing here, very cute. But yeah, she's hanging out wherever, I guess, at a shrine next to this big stone structure, column, whatever it is. The texturing is nice though, and I do like the swords just chilling off to the side. They even sculpted like little holes for like the swords poking into the sand, which is a really nice detail. probably going to go overlooked by a lot of people because, you know, it's minor, but I do think that's just them making it feel a little bit more realistic. But we do have some other figures to go through because, like I said, a lot of stuff from Kotobukiya. We'll do this pretty quickly, like the Blue Eyes White Dragon Oshiworks figure. I do like the mix of mattes and like metallic paint. Like this is also a budget figure, but it looks so much better than the My figure. So kind of confusing in my opinion. Here is the Abstract Daddy from Silent Hill 2. Looks gross. I like how slimy this looks. Again, like it seems like they can do some nice stuff in the Oshiworks line. So asking for like slightly better paint for I don't think is asking too much. Now next up we had Anna from Makaine. This is her painted prototype, looking pretty spot on to me. I think her base is pretty interesting. She's like leaping off the ground and these rectangles and triangles and circles are just making up this base and supporting her in the air. I think it's a pretty cool look, and also you can't really see it, but the disc has like the blue sky with the clouds that look like the art style from the opening, I think. It's been a while since I watched this, but I think that's what they're going for, and I think that's a really fun detail. But yeah, very cute figure of Anna. Love the posing, but there is actually another figure of her from Alter, which you might be interested in, so make sure you tune in for that a little bit later. Here is Amulet Heart from Shugo Kyara. I believe the third figure from Kotobukiya, showing a lot of love to the series. But yeah, it's a cute cheerleader figure. A lot of hearts on this design, even in the pom-poms, but this one on the visor is just so stupidly big that I find it kind of charming. And much like her original look, she has these leg warmers. I don't know if they're supposed to be socks in this instance, but it's a cute look. Like her outfit is generally pretty dang cute. And then we move on to the Idolmaster. This girl looks great. I love her outfit. And she looks so serious and like passionate as she's singing. But her name is Tsukimura Temari from Gakuen Idolmaster. Also, I want to say that her dress kind of looks like a hammock, but I like it at the same time. Here is a figure of Haruka with like a bunch of arrows behind her. I think this is a weird look as somebody who doesn't remember like the reference they're making here or like the song or the art they're pulling from. Like she looks cute and she looks very sincere here as she's singing, but I don't know, I need to see like the colors that this figure are going to get specifically for the base because I just think it looks kind of strange. We also had some figures from the Kaseki series, though these I don't believe are updates at all. So we had Agnes Cladel, which looks as lovely as last time. For some reason, my keyboard is not working here. And then we had two announcements for Elisa and Laura. Elisa and Laura's the blue hair one, I'm pretty sure. I guess we'll just talk about Jean and Annette from Phantasy Star Online 2, getting some more swimsuit figures. I mean, Annette doesn't really have that many figures, especially compared to Jean. Or is it like Jean? I actually don't know how you say her name, but these tan lines go crazy, and she's got a really good expression too. This outfit, I mean, this is like barely a swimsuit in my opinion, but this does have a bit of a cybernetic, futuristic twist to it. But I gotta say, I really like the swimsuit they gave Annette, especially this puffy jacket. It matches her like typical color scheme, which I think is like perfect. Also, how am I just now realizing she has massive elf ears? That shit cute. That makes her better. Anyway, here is the Tokai Teo figure. I don't know if this is an update, but I wrote it down, so I just wanted to show you guys, especially because I do like Uma Musume. But I don't particularly have anything to say about it, though it does look like a Shrine Maiden outfit, specifically the sleeves, but the puffy pants kind of throw me off a little bit. Maybe this just makes it more functional as a like racing outfit, even though this still would not make any sense to race in. But yeah, last up, this one was pretty cool. We're getting a figure of Yuzuki Yukari from Vocaloid. I don't know if the moon, like the crescent moon and the rock underneath, are supposed to be like polygonal, but I really like that look. I hope it's not just like early stages and they keep this design. But yeah, I've always liked Yukari's design. I can't say I've heard like too many songs that she's sung, but character design is great. So I think this is a very cool announcement from them, and that should wrap up the Kotobukiya section. Anyway, we are at Aniplex's booth next. I don't think they have too much relevant to this channel. A couple of buzz mods from Cyberpunk, of course, as well as this lovely Chisato and Takina like date style figure. I'm pretty sure they're non-scale. I don't think they're even like 1/8 scale. Hopefully I'm wrong. I think at the very least they should be 1/8 scale. Because they look lovely, you know, I like the idea. I like that they've actually gone the extra mile with the base, even giving you the whole ass tree behind them. That's a really nice touch. And the leaves that have sprinkled on top of like the sign and the fence, I think that's also really nice extra detailing for this figure. But the main pull would be both of these two and just the posing of them. Really faithful to the art style of Licorice Recoil as well. I just hope it's one, not too expensive, and two, not too small. The Beach Queen Morgan from Fate Grand Order. Now they call it a Beach Queen, but she is a 1/7 scale, so not like the line of Beach Queens where they're like 1/10 or something like that. So decent size. This one's a little unfortunate because while I do like how this figure is painted, the palette is really appealing to me, and the blues and yellows look great in combination with each other, and the red accents on top of that. But there is so many support stands. This figure just looks so busy, and if you could eliminate all of that, it really wouldn't. Like, I know there's a lot going on, but it's also because there's like 6 silver beams keeping the figure up. And that's just not gonna feel like a 40,000 yen product. So, you know, it's a little unfortunate how this figure was put together. Also, I think her expression, you know, it's kind of flat. Feels intentional, but also not really my thing. Here's a figure of Reina wearing a bunny suit from 86, pretty cute. Not too different from most bunny suit figures. There is like a bit more like ruffling on this outfit. Pretty much everywhere throughout it, which is good, you know, definitely helps separate it from other figures, even if it's not like too drastically different. Colors are nice, and I do like this expression. Shy, but not like overly so. I believe there was a few Bocchi the Rock figures, which are all available to pre-order. I think we recently got the Kita one, which is right here. At this point, they're all kind of doing the same thing, so nothing's really standing out to me, but, you know, if you buy one, you're gonna want them all. And they all really do look great when they're aligned with each other, which I don't think we get a photo of that in this gallery, unfortunately, but that's okay. Next up was Kadokawa. I think first up are a bunch of non-scale figures. I think they're making non-scales of like all of the Muse members from Love Live, the original series, unless they just want to make Honoka really stand out among the sea of acrylic characters around her. But I would assume they're going to eventually make all of them. But yeah, we also got a Lena Inverse, which is great. I think we saw this last time, but it wasn't confirmed to be like a purchasable figure. She has really cute dynamic posing, which is kind of surprising for like a non-scale budget figure. I think the only thing that would make this better is if she had like some sort of weapon, but maybe that's just me. But really like how her face turned out. Hopefully looks even better when they're done. And then this next announcement was like the first one I saw last night when this event started. Let me go to this photo here. So they're making non-scales of all of these characters. Whether or not they are going to look like this art is still up in the air. They mentioned that somewhere where it's like, it might look like this, it might not, subject to change. But we're getting Holo, we're getting Haruhi, we're getting Shauna, we're getting Taiga, and also both of the boys from Durarara, which altogether I think is a pretty neat announcement. But yeah, just really curious where they're going in terms of direction, because the top 3 are based off the light novels designs and the bottom 3 are anime. And I would be so happy if we just got a figure that looked exactly like this for Taiga, but I do think going for this Holo would be better than like anime Holo personally. Same with Shauna. We literally have this figure of Haruhi, so I feel like they should do something different. But yeah, who knows? We'll see in the future. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but let's continue. Yeah, what else do I want to talk about here? Not gonna get into the plastic models. Here is a figure of Marin Kitagawa that I really don't like because her face looks very bad. The kimono she's wearing is nice. I do like the darker colors on her, but meh, I don't know. Also really subtle like pink gradation in her hair. Maybe that's because it's all tied up, but even like in the front, maybe they could have added like a little bit more pink. I feel like this one's a little disappointing. Next up, we had the Anastasia from Fate Grand Order, who I think they kind of fumbled it with like the cheapish translucent dress. I don't really think that's a very flattering way to make her outfit. It looks a little too chunky. It's not like transparent enough to look nice. It doesn't have any color to it. It, I don't know, feels a little phoned in. I like the pearlescent on the dress that you could see, like on the blue, but I think that layer just kind of ruins it, the translucent part. If that doesn't bother you though, I do think she looks pretty good, like her face is cute. I like these seashell earrings, and this doll is definitely a highlight, or whatever it's supposed to be. Enjoying its shaved ice, floating above on these ice crystals, that's cool. You know, there is that big silver pole in the front, but where else is it gonna go, right? Kinda has to be this way. Up next is Durga, also from Fate Grand Order. I was gonna say, this looks pretty impressive, but then I looked at her face and her bangs, and they don't really look finished. And I'm hoping that's literally just the case, because this is a prototype, but like her face is so shiny, and there's like no shading on the top of her head, and the eye decals look a little bit too simplistic, but I don't know. I can't imagine that's how she's supposed to look, but maybe I'm wrong. Everything else, though, about this figure, I'm pretty impressed by. Her lack of clothing looks good. I mean, half of it is just like golden string and decor and just like fancy jewelry, and then like some translucent fabric under that. But it does fit the vibe. It looks like something a deity would wear, a goddess. I don't know if she's supposed to be, but that's what I'm feeling when I look at her. Lover snake companion. That little guy is cute. I have no idea what like this defense system around her is supposed to be, but that looks pretty cool too. Her hair is actually draping over it as well. And yeah, you do need to support it with like 3 silver supports. Maybe they'll be clear on the final product, but at least it's not 6. At least it's not 12, so it's really not that bad in my opinion. Yeah, they could have thought of something a little bit better, but I think this one works a lot better than the Beach Queen Morgan. Alright, so Claynel is going to take like 2 minutes to get through. Most of this is just old announcements, but just to recap you very quickly, from Uma Musume, we're getting a figure of Mai no Top Gun, the Rockin' Mew Meow version, just the announcement, as well as prototypes for a new Mihono Bourbon wearing a very cute dress, and alongside her is a new Maruzensky figure, which I think is pretty cool. I like the sculpt on this one quite a bit. Outside of that, though, we do have this figure of Formidable, the Sweet Time version, already up for pre-order. Very sexy lingerie, also a 1/6 scale, so pretty big. And then just because she's here as well, we had the Kazusa figure also available to pre-order right now. But then we also had the Owari Anime Expo 2024 version. I feel like this was painted like a couple of months ago. This might be your first time seeing it. Painted at the very least, most likely on this channel. I've never highlighted it, and I gotta say, I think they've done a pretty good job. She does have some really nice figures though. I don't think this is her best. It might be her sexiest, but also at the same time, the other ones are pretty damn sexy too. A lot of her figure shows a lot of her body, so, you know, even though she's wearing this like, I don't know, race queen style outfit in a sense, it's not really like that different in terms of like how much skin is shown. The fishnet is nice. I think that's actually sculpted and not fabric. That's what it looks like from these photos at the very least. Besides that though, I do think the entirety of this outfit is glossy, including the boots. I think that works very well with the matte finish on her skin, just a nice contrast between the two. The other announcement, this one was genuinely new, was a dress figure for Sayori. This will probably be what the figure looks like, what they're aiming for. I think that's pretty promising looking. That art looks great. I do wish Claynel brought Polka from HoloLive. I've been dying to see what they're cooking with that figure, but just no update. We don't even have the prototype for that one. But yeah, that's Claynel. So as expected, MegaHobby brought a lot to this event, though not too much that I'm like personally invested in. So this might actually be pretty quick. We're gonna start with the Gundam section. They do make a lot of posable figures, but you know, on this channel, we don't really focus on that too much, and we would be here all day if I did. I'm also going to really only focus on the new stuff that I noticed, like the announcement for the Kagami figure from Gundam Seed. And we're also getting a figure of Arthun Zala as well as Kira Yamato, which I believe they're just hiding in this box, but he was also in this photo right here. But next up, we had a Lacus Clyde figure, also from Gundam Seed, in the Lucria Light series, which, if you're not familiar, is a budget line. They're smaller, they're cheaper. In fact, both of the guys we just mentioned are in that line as well. Though this one was a Gundam Girls Generation, which should be a typical like 1/8, 1/7 scaling figure, which is good. You know, we don't want everything to be budget, of course. This one looked very cute. You had Machu, you have Nyan, you have Shuji, and Haro, all from Gundam Quacks, surrounded by the Kira Kira, which makes no sense to anybody who hasn't seen that. But that's just like that colorful stuff surrounding them. And then we jump right back into some more Lucria Light figures. Here is Shalia Bull, also from Gundam Quacks, technically the first series, but this is the redesign. And then we also had this girl whose name I'm forgetting. I think it was Murasame Do or something. This is like an industry plant character. I don't care what anybody says. She was in like 1.5 episodes. Did get to pilot the Psycho Gundam. That shit was awesome, but like, so forgettable. Where's a figure of the MILF? Like, we're getting one of Nyan as well in the pilot suit. That's cool. That makes sense. But Shiko, like, where's her? She was so popular and they did not make a figure of her. That just is stupid. That is actually stupid. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. Here is a figure announcement for Matilda in the Gundam Girls Generation line. So she's getting a nice one. She's from the original series, I believe. These are all re-releases or have already gone up for pre-order. This girl from Hathaway, I think her name is Gigi. I think my favorite parts are the eyes and the lips. They're so full. I think she looks very, very pretty. Here is a figure of Nico Robin wearing the Vegapunk outfit in the Evolutionary History line, which, god damn, the sculpt's good. But she's very cute to the point where it kind of doesn't look like her, like the face. I feel like a different artist worked on this altogether, which is throwing me off a little bit. I don't know if I'm in love with it. I do really like the paint on this figure, and obviously like the way they're highlighting her curves. Fantastic too. But I don't know, I don't really see Robin when I look at this figure, which is kind of a bummer, because I do like everything else about it. This is the Nami version, which has already been up for pre-order for a while. I think that one's pretty cute too. The swimsuit Nami, which went up for pre-order not too long ago. I also feel like this kinda doesn't look like Nami. Like, the art style feels even more off in this instance, but I guess it's a huge swimsuit Nami, so I guess they're getting that part right. Here's a figure of Milhawk, which is pretty cool, though I should point out that this is actually just a recolor on a previously existing figure. Gintama is actually getting some new figures. Specifically, and I did write this down, we are getting Okita Sogo as well as Takasugi Shinsuke, which is some pretty good picks. They haven't gotten figures in a very long time. Also, Kagurabachi getting a figure is kind of funny. I don't know why, because he's like the meme guy from a couple of years ago. I think this is the main character. His name, I think I wrote this down too, Chihiro. Yeah, he's getting a figure too in the Gem series, so that's cool. But yeah, anything else to go through on this page? Let me see. I think towards the bottom, there was another Idolmaster figure. This is Higuchi Maruka from Shiny Colors, probably this outfit if I had to guess, as well as Yachio from Apocalypse Hotel, which feels like a pretty out there announcement. Kind of cool. Don't think she has any other figures on the market right now. And last but not least for this page, we have some figures from Aikasu of Ozura Akari, which is this one right here, and then the silhouettes of Lala, which wish we got to see it, but we don't. So instead, let's talk about this 1/3 scale figure of C2, which is enormous and is going to cost like 60,000 yen at the very least. And yeah, she looks good. I do think I like the other 1/4 scale where she's like, you know, laying down with her butt in the air. That shit's kind of hard to top. But man, that would have been insane at the 1/3 scale. But you know, it's C2. She's great. A very straight to the point bunny suit, just like the previous one though. Same colors as well. Here is Rain from G Gundam. That is very unexpected. I kind of wish this girl would get a figure that was normal, but she like just can't. But I think this is kind of cool just because it's G Gundam and I like G Gundam. Here is a figure of Luna Maria from Gundam Seed Destiny. She looks pretty good. Love the red they went with and the pink on the inside. That's not bad at all. I think that's pretty good. Plus the boots, so different for a bunny girl. I like it a lot. We also got some Mikus on this page, though the Gundam Wing one, which looks excellent, has been up for pre-order for like, I don't know, a month at this point. But the one that actually got updated at this event was this Miku, where she's holding onto a little Haro, same color as Miku as well. That's a nice touch. And there's like a bunch of monitors and like pianos and like this blade stuck into the ground. I think it is extremely lazy that instead of getting like a bed of flowers, it's just an acrylic disc with an image of that. Like, come on, they couldn't just sculpt a couple of flowers. I say a couple, but it is a lot. But that felt pretty integral to like the piece of art that this is based on. I think this one actually looks a little bit cheap looking at it for a little bit more time. Specifically, her hair This like shiny plasticky look just isn't the best way they should have approached her twin tails, or even her bangs. But it does also look like they gave parts of her clothing a metallic sheen, like the sleeves and the boots. I'm not exactly sure if that's what's going on, but it does stand out, and I do think that looks pretty good, and it's pretty interesting. But yeah, the Gundam Wing figure looks so much better, in my opinion. So that would be my recommendation. If you care at all, you probably don't. Next up was a Roxy figure. I don't know if like this scene is what they're actually basing the figure around. That's interesting. And that's me just trying to not like get too into it. I'm assuming she's gonna be wearing like a nightgown or something, or whatever kind of pajamas she was wearing during that moment. But we're also getting a melty princess of Komaro. This is gonna be like 2 inches tall because she is such a small character. She already has like 4 or 5 figures, and the anime hasn't even gotten like a real trailer. Pretty impressive. She must be very popular. And then we had a figure of Mihari wearing her swimsuit, another melty princess figure. Goku on a bike, making a really silly face. I don't know if he's about to crash into a wall, but that's what I think when I look at this. But I love this outfit, and obviously the detailing in the bike is pretty nice too. Not sure if this is supposed to be a model kit or actually like a sculpted figure, but whatever the case, I do like its appearance. Bulma getting a figure like that as well. This is very cheap, 8,500 yen, which makes me think this will be like a model kit, at least the vehicle you'll have to put together. Could be wrong though. Thanatos from Persona, that's been up for a while. We have a figure of Nagumo from Sakamoto Days. This is the 3rd or 4th figure from Megahouse, and they all look pretty dynamic and well set up. The character likeness is definitely on point here. Maybe not the most expressive he could have been, but usually he's just laughing if he's not smiling, and that might not have made sense on this sculpt. They're making a Charizard X and Y statue, which I don't know how to feel about like the Megahouse Pokemon stuff. I also can't tell how big this is going to be, but like, you know, this is a dope setup. I like the flames underneath both Charizards more than probably the sculpts themselves, but I think it's because there's like a lot of seam lines where the legs and the wings would connect, and I think that's a little distracting. But at the same time, they are fighting airborne, which is pretty sick. Like, I do think this is a really interesting looking setup for these two, but you know, quality-wise, I have no idea. But yeah, I think the last thing I need to talk about with Megahouse is actually a figure of Shanks, which we got one of him not too long ago from Megahouse. It had a really nice paint job, but I did see that one bargain bin, at least for a time, though this is an entirely different one. An SA maximum, I think it says down there. Also, they say this whole line is sold 5 million units, which I wish more companies were like more transparent about that. I would love to know figure sales, just like the number of them. But yeah, this is much more dynamically set up compared to the previous figure of Shanks. Also much more expressive, and it seems like he is just engulfed in flames and electricity. Without the colors, I don't know exactly what is going on. It does seem like his sword is also ignited or lit with lightning or fire. And I guess his face is all like bloodied up too. It kind of looks like that. Actually, maybe not. Like, this is the scarring, and this might just be a shadow from the hair, like going down his eye. I can't actually tell right now, but I do think this one looks fucking awesome. We're finally here with Alter's announcements, the end of the video. This took so long to get through this time around, but we're gonna wrap it up in a good way. So we're gonna start with the quick announcements. So we have the scale figure of CZ2128 Delta, Sobin version from Overlord. This looks like a 3D render, but it's a cool pose, so I do like how this one's shaping up. This one's pretty dope to me. We have a Momoka figure in the works from Girls Band Cry. I think this posing is perfect, and they should just copy this one-to-one. I really hope they do. And I like this outfit a lot more than the one that Kotobukiya went with, so I am super interested. I really like Momoka as a character, though frankly all like 5 of the band members are pretty good characters. And then we get to Alter's Nikkei announcements. Now you might be seeing 1/5 scales, which is massive. A little weird that it's not 1/4, but 1/5 still huge. And they're starting this off with Crown Naked King version, so just a giant naked lady. And we also have Viper Shine of Love, which is the same design we saw earlier from Amakuni. Likely different posing. Can't imagine this is what they're basing the figure off of though. Like, this would be pretty hard to pull off with the hammock and only on 1 foot. that just can't be what they're going with. But outside of this, we're also getting some 1/7 scales, I think, of Privity, the Unkind Maid, and Tia. I think Privity has been asked for a while, so nice that they're actually making a figure of her. And then we also had a Goddess of Victory Nikkei figure of Scarlet Black Shadow Longing Flower. But this is where I show my bias, because the last announcements for Alter, at least before like their prototypes and whatnot, was 2 figures from Toho, one of Reisen and one of Aya. That was so unexpected, and I am very interested in picking up this Aya. I don't know if I can get Reisen. I think these are all going to be like 35,000 yen, maybe even more when we get to another figure in this gallery, but like, they're already expensive with like Flandre and Romelia. And these are just as interesting looking. The bases are so elaborate on both of them. So I'm just preparing myself. I feel like I am not going to be able to afford all of these. And I definitely do like Aya a little bit more than Reisen. Though, I think this setup looks awesome. Maybe even like more colorful and dynamic than the Aya one. But, you know, character preference and whatnot usually wins in my heart. So yeah, that's awesome. Now we're going to continue to the prototype. Some of these photos are pretty dark, and I'll just like, you know, put better ones in post. But we have the Shinano Dreams of the Hazy Moon version. All those fluffy tails behind her look really nicely sculpted. But this is a swimsuit figure, I believe, based on the costume. We also had the, okay, I gotta censor this one, the St. Louis Race Queen version. Hard to tell what I'm even looking at, but I wasn't really expecting all of that shoved into my face. And then we also had the Formidable Classic Dress-Up version, which, let me just say, not exactly sure what that name means, but the dress itself, multi-layered, very wavy, a little bit of ruffling, and her hair looks huge. I don't know if it's tied up in twin tails, but either way, it's reaching like her heels, and they look pretty full, though maybe my brain is just rotted at this point. But I do feel like her legs look kind of thin. Like, I wouldn't mind if they were a little healthier looking, I'll put it that way. Here is Ager Ironblood's Dragon Maid version. That is a nice looking blanket. Her hair is draping all over the floor. The couch looks pretty ornate, and I don't know how they're getting away with this posing. Like, the hands, like, that's a lot. Like, that's kind of nuts. We also have the Serious Dakimakura version, basically wearing nothing. Entangled in ribbons, also blushing. What a dangerous situation she's found herself in. We have the Taiho Seaside Daydreams version, which for my sake, I'm going to just go back to AmiAmi News real quick because the photos are better and I just want to see it and just like get a better idea of the coloring. Her skin is very pale. And I guess, you know, also the bikini is not the most colorful thing either. But it almost gives you like the illusion that she's almost naked because she's really not wearing that much. The bikini is pretty tight on her. There is some spillage about to happen. Her eyes look great. I like how full and thick her eyelashes are. And also just like the vibrant red, kind of like the only bright color you're getting with this figure, which is pretty interesting. And it does seem like you will get the option to take off her shirt if you would like to just make it straight on bikini. And then we had the New Orleans Evening Agricole version. There's something about the way this is set up. I don't know if it's like the crossed legs or the style of the dress or just her face, but it feels kind of tasteful compared to like a lot of the other figures we've just seen. I don't think this really needs the bunny ears. In fact, I kind of don't like them. I think it kind of clashes with everything else, but that's the original design, so I'm not going to really hate on it or anything. Anyway, next up is the Soda Twinkling Bunny version. Now, I got a bone to pick with this one, at least a little bit. I don't know why they chose to change the posing on this one. Here is some better photos of it. Originally, she's like pulling on the bunny suit because her boobs are just so big. They're so heavy, and she just has to keep them up, I guess. But they made it like bunny ears instead, the posing with her hands. And it just kind of goes against the original art in a way that I don't think is as good. This is cute in its own way, and I think the hair looks pretty nice in these photos. Compared to this one where it looks kind of muddy, the better lighting does make her hair look a lot nicer in terms of the shading and whatnot. And I didn't realize that, unless I'm wrong, the leggings actually have like tiny tears in them, more so in the back. So be sure to turn your figure around when you get this. Yeah, then you also get a second face where her eyes are even more open, which is kind of weird too, because I feel like her eyes should be even more squinted, because that's how they were. But at the same time, I feel like I keep saying that. I think some people were complaining about how she looked when they first showed this off. Like, she looked kind of weird. So maybe they just felt like it needed some tweaks. So, you know, differing opinions and whatnot. not a big deal. This girl is up next. I believe her name is Naga. Let's double check that very quick. Yeah, here we go. So she looks beautiful. It is a school uniform figure, which is not something we typically see from Nikkei or the characters in it. But man, it's got like that Gyaru look to her, specifically like the socks and like all the charms on her bag and the phone and the way her hair is tied up with the extra like accessories to it. Yeah, keep going back. Sorry about that. Shading looks immaculate. Her skin looks really good too, and yeah, she's even like gently lifting up the skirt, unless I'm like not seeing something else, but it does look like she's starting to do that while blushing and smiling and looking at you. But yeah, I think if you're gonna make a school uniform figure, this is the way to go. Actually, while we're here, let's just continue talking about Nikkei, because we are getting 2 more figures of Blanc and Noir. And these are like the main poses, like the artwork you typically see when you search these characters up, which is pretty basic, right? I don't know what compelled them to do this so shortly after putting that like 2-in-1 figure up for pre-order. But maybe people like these poses more. Personally, I find them a little bit less interesting, but you know, if the paint is good and the sculpting is nice, I'm not, you know, gonna have any issues with it. Since this video is taking me so long to film, I think I said in the beginning of the video that like some other figures would have sculpted fishnets, and I believe it was these 2. And the reason why that might be better in some instances is because they could sculpt the fishnets actually like digging into the skin a little bit to make them look plumper, which will look sexier. So if they do a good job with that, I think that might even be better than realistic fishnets. But too early to tell. We'll see how these turn out. Okay, let's continue. Here is some fake Grand Order figures. This is Okita Soji Alter. I think the Final Ascension version includes like a mini version of herself, I guess. This is lifted so high up in the air and also tilted backwards a little bit, only on 1 foot. But like, I guess it's not too heavy. I'm just like a little worried about that piece falling over. Yeah, you know, pretty straightforward swimsuit. I do like the inclusion of the hoodie, or I guess like partial hoodie, just sleeves at this point, and the scarf. I've always liked the way they've designed her hair too. Very like flat, but still sculpting in like the lines to, you know, break apart the strands a little bit. And I think she has a pretty cute face too. I quite like this smile. And it has some depth to it, which is nice. This next one, though, extremely impressive. Here is the Abigail Williams summer version. Just horrors beyond human comprehension. Like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. There's like some kind of octopus tentacle thing going on, but it's mixing in with some like creepy flowers and bow ties and whatnot. Her skin is just ghostly. Her face is pretty creepy, like the bright pink, and I think she has sharp teeth too. But yeah, it's interesting because like the color palette's so dark, but then it's all against like her very light skin. So it does help like break the pieces apart, and you could see like the detail a little bit more clearly. You could see like the yellow of the pulsating flower in quotes and whatever like the red flowers are supposed to be. Maybe that's not even a flower. I don't know. Again, what the hell's going on with this figure? But yeah, there's just some good color choices here that help highlight like some key features of the figure. And then you just have this girl hidden in this like massive grotesqueness just looking at you in a very scary way. I think that's awesome. I think that's a really cool figure. Was not expecting Nadia to get a figure. Like, where did that come from? I don't think this was even announced previously. Just a throwback from the 90s that nobody really expected. And that's what I'm here for. The unexpected stuff. They managed to set this figure up in a pretty seamless manner outside of the little lion. I think his name is King. He's just kind of thrown in last second, it feels like. But I like the flow of the water, the tassels of her outfit flowing upwards, or ribbons, or whatever they're supposed to be. This like big gem, I think that's supposed to be her necklace. Assumingly that'll be translucent, and that'll likely look very nice on the final product. And she's also curling up, making the figure feel pretty compact and contained, which also makes the lion feel even less thought out, in my opinion. But besides him, I do really like how this has come together, and she looks pretty too. Next up, I guess I'll jump over here. We'll talk about Anna from Makaine. She's actually enjoying a big burger, which is fun because none of the other figures show her eating, and she loves to eat. There was like a calorie counter when this anime was airing. Where's the other photos of her? I'm just doing it now, I'm sorry. Because she does have an additional like accessory. She comes with a heart sign that she's making, half a heart. Who will join her in that? Probably nobody, which is sad, but it's just life for ya. Also, she's winking, so extra faceplate too. But yeah, I think I actually like this one more than Kotobukiya's, despite the lack of a base. Like, she's likely just gonna be standing here, and they won't do anything outside of like a nice acrylic or something. But, you know, just feels a little bit more in character, or like the parts of her I like more than just her cute design. Here's another Overlord figure, actually, this time of Yuri Alpha, the 10th anniversary Soben version. I don't know anything about this character. I do like her spiky armor on top of the maid outfit, but I am going to save myself a little bit of time and move on, because we got a figure of Galleon from Grand Blue Fantasy, which, 1, great choice. 2, holy shit, actually getting another Grand Blue Fantasy figure. Maybe it's just because she's in the new fighting game. But yeah, definitely interested in this, because, I mean, look at this character design. It is pretty peak. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be like a dragon, and this is like her humanoid form, so she's clearly very powerful, is wielding the staff, has some like abstract shapes making a moon behind her, which is really cool. Some of that's in the front as well. I don't know if anybody cares with thighs like that on display, but, you know, these are the details of the sculpt, so you should appreciate them. Her outfit is just like very long and flowing, draping all the way to the floor, which looks very nice as well. I mean, her character design is just great, which I think I said 2 seconds ago. So let's continue. Actually, I think there was some Uma Musume in this part of the video. Yeah, so we had Smart Falcon right here. Singing on stage, we had Aston Machan, if I said that right. Not super familiar with her. I know she comes with like a mini version of, I think, herself, which is very cute. We could see that in this photo here. I think she could even hold on to it, which is displayed in this photo as well. So she comes with some swappable pieces, making this like a better value, whatever the price may be. And then I think there was Gentle Donna somewhere. This one right here. One of the prettier Uma Musume characters, in my opinion, a great choice from Alter. We did miss one though, so here is Rice Shower, the yummy, dreamy fairy version. That is a name, but this shit looks precious. Not really that interested in it because I think normal Rice Shower looks better, but extremely cute outfit for her. All these like vegetables that I think is just a pattern, not like actual real vegetables, like tucked into the pocket of the, I guess the apron, or just like part of the dress. If you look very closely, there's like carrots along the trim of this part of the dress, which is a nice touch. You'll likely see that much better when the figure is actually painted. And another figure where she's making half a heart. Someone's got to help these girls out. Don't leave them hanging. But before we get to the big finale of this video, we have the Kotone Fujita Kamado Giku version from the Idol Master, which is very different from the other figure we saw earlier of her. 1 or 2, I don't remember, but definitely did not look like this, wearing a kimono, holding a big-ass umbrella, almost like a weapon, but I think she's just dancing instead. And I like the inclusion of the mask. This is pretty interesting for an Idol Master figure. But, oh man, I think I'll just go here for the better quality photos. Where are these figures? Okay, so they brought Marissa from Toho. The artist I believe who worked on this one was Matcha, who I think is also doing the Reimu, but like, I don't know where to begin with this. It is extremely surprising that it does not seem like anything is supporting this figure outside of just like her feet planted onto the ground, considering like how her hair is flowing up and there's so many things placed on the base, the sunflowers, the light, the book, there's like ribbons in the back there, she's holding onto her broom, of course. There's even like stars attached to her hair as well, which seems extremely delicate. I guess if there's anything to go by or just to say about this figure is that it looks like it's going to be extremely delicate. So put this together one time, never touch it again. But wow, she looks actually gorgeous. This has to be like the best figure they showed at this event. And yes, I'm biased. Yes, I like this character and this franchise, but definitively this has to be her best figure yet. It's not like the exact look for Marissa I would personally ask for, but I just think this is so impressive how much is actually packed into this and how nice her hair looks, how alive all of this feels. It's just so much to take in. And we don't even have the color, which is crazy because like, man, when the paint is actually applied to this figure, I think a lot of people are going to want this one. They're going to see the price tag, they're going to wince, but they're still likely going to want it. And then we also got Reimu, though this is just the acrylic of it. Little harder to see because of the lighting, but it's basically the same idea. Looks even wider because of Reimu's sleeves just flowing in the breeze pretty aggressively. And again, you gotta wonder, like, how is this being supported? You know what I mean? Her hair is even like flowing more upwards than Marissa's, I think. And compared to the stars that were on Marissa's figure, there's also these orbs throughout the figure. I don't know exactly what they're supposed to be. I can't really tell what the detailing is. There's like a line running through it. But yeah, you got like some food down here, the shrine ropes, a fan, some nice looking flowers. It's beautiful. I am so excited for both of these figures. And I think Sakuya is about to go up for order as well. That's personally my least favorite of the altar ones so far. I'm just not really like the biggest fan of the colors, but that's not included here. So I guess I'm not going to talk about it right now. We've gone through a lot today. This looks gorgeous for pretty much the same reasons. But before we wrap up, there is one more figure I want to talk about because I might need this in the thumbnail because some of these figures, or a lot of them, did not have paint. And if you want to make a good thumbnail, you should have some color to it. Here is from Good Smile Company, the 100th Adventure Hatsune Miku. I do have a couple of photos of this figure, nothing too drastically different from each other, but this is such a good idea. I think putting Miku in this adventure costume, like she's on a JRPG quest or something, is awesome. And it has like a sky theme to it because of the feathers in her hair, her hats. There's even more of them down here on the twin tails. I will say I'm not convinced on the translucency of her hair. I get what they're going for, but as like the shadows are cast on the figure, it makes the hair look a little bit gray, and I don't think that's that flattering. But I think the rest of the figure is painted really well. Like the outfit's shading and the gold trim alongside that. Even the paint on the boots looks way better than it has any right to be. And her face is really cute too. I like this style for Miku, so different from the typical Good Smile Miku design. And I guess I did not notice this earlier, but it looks like the brim of her hat is actually just like translucent plastic, which is interesting. I don't know why they went that route, but maybe I like it, maybe I don't. I need to see more of this figure. But yeah, I just thought that one looked neat, and I wanted to show it to you guys. But that's gonna wrap up the MegaHobby Expo video. I'm gonna go edit this now. I'm tired as hell. I think this video is going to go up on Monday. Just need a little bit of extra time because of my computer shutting down. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching this video. Like it if you enjoyed it. I got a Patreon if you want to support that. Would mean a lot. But yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna wrap this up now. See you later and have a good one. Peace.